You need to know how to make a home studio? I got you. The classic of any home studio everywhere, the Focusrite. This is an interface. An interface allows you to get the microphone to the computer. Usually they have built-in preamps in it that boost the sound. This is where an expensive interface would have better preamps in it, or more input signals, whereas this has room for a microphone and an instrument, and it's about the cheapest interface you can get. It's probably the most used interface for sure too. It'll get the job done if you're looking for the most affordable home studio setup. When it comes to the microphone, as a pro audio engineer, I feel like that's the most important part, because if you're sending away your songs to get mixed and mastered by a pro and you have a bad quality microphone, it makes it so much harder to do. Like if you record it on your phone or on like a $20 microphone, you're going to have a lot of distortion, and it's not going to be a very good signal, because the whole point is to make sure we're getting a clear quality signal into the computer. The third thing you need on your computer is what they call a DAW, a digital audio workstation. That could be Pro Tools, FL, Logic, Ableton, Reason, Cool Edit Pro, GarageBand, Studio One. There's a whole bunch of them. They all sort of do the same thing. It's like different languages where you say the same thing, but how you say it is different. The next thing is speakers. There are all kinds of different speakers that you could get. These are JBL, these are KRK. This is a classic of any home studio. I personally don't use them too much, but if you see a home studio setup, you'll see the Focusrite, you'll see the KRK, and you'll see a cheap microphone probably. But the Yamaha HS series, I like those too. And you don't need the HS10. You could start off with a smaller version that's more affordable, especially if you're not planning on having the volume incredibly loud. But studio monitor speakers are important so you can hear what the sound is. These are different from normal speakers because they're not trying to enhance the sound. They're not doing anything in addition to it. It's really letting you hear what the signal is at kind of a baseline. Extra things that will help your studio: sound diffusion. You want, especially when you're recording the vocals, you want to make sure that there's not any background noise. Anything you can use to make sure that you're not picking up the car passing by or the dog barking in the backyard or the baby crying or whatever. You want to make sure that you're getting a clear quality signal in. If we're talking bare and bones, you don't need too much more than that. There's a ton you could add. You can get a cool MIDI keyboard. If you're a producer or even as an artist, MIDI keyboards can be very useful. You can get some instruments. You can get some vibey lights. Lighting is very important. But if we're talking the most affordable setup, I recommend a quality microphone, the Focusrite, or a similar priced interface. The Steinberg UR22, that's what I used for a long time. I don't know that it's still in production, but I'm sure you can find them used for a very cheap price. A digital audio workstation where the cheapest probably being FL. There's certain websites out there, certain websites that you can download FL for very cheap, almost no cost to you, if you know what I'm saying. And Pro Tools is the industry standard. If you are sending your song out to be professionally mixed and mastered, I recommend using Pro Tools just to make it easier on yourself. When you send the whole session to them, you don't have to worry about bouncing out all the stems and making sure that everything's right. Quality speakers or quality studio monitor headphones. That's the key, is studio monitor. Just make sure you're getting a studio monitor speaker or headphone, and you should be good for the playback. Let's talk about what a quality microphone is, right? Because there are a lot of different microphones that are quality. The price range being $200 to $20,000, and what we use here at the studio is in the higher range of that, pretty much the highest you can go. And there is a noticeable difference between that and any microphone under $1,000. The Shure SM7B, This is a microphone you've seen in podcasting, but it's not just a podcasting mic. This mic was used to record the Thriller album and a lot of different setups. It's good for live performances too. Not live, but like a hanging mic type video or like a in-studio live performance. Rode NT1 is a popular option. I personally don't really like it, but it's a good quality option for the budget. It's probably one of the cheapest that you can find. The Blue has a good series of microphones. I would recommend those as a good condenser microphone. That's most likely what you'll want, is a condenser microphone. Honestly, when it comes to microphones, I don't think you should go cheap. Even though you could find a $90 option, if it sounds like trash, you're almost wasting your money, right? You want to be able to do something with what you record to be able to make money and have it be professional. However, if you have the budget, once you get to about the $1,000 price range for a microphone, it becomes much more closer to the very top microphones. The microphone like Drake uses, for example, the Sony C800, that microphone is $10,000 to $20,000, whereas a microphone that's $1,000, some people might not notice the difference. The average listener doesn't notice the difference between microphones very easily. It's more about the vibe of the music. But if you get a microphone that's around the $1,000 price range, I feel like almost all the options will provide you with a good quality sound, like a clear signal where it's not going to be hard for the mixing engineer to make it sound a lot better. The TLM 103 is what I personally use. It's a popular microphone. It's loved, and it's also hated for sure. The Sphere Labs is a good option. There are a lot of emulation options. There are a lot of like the knockoff options, where the Sony C800, like I said, is like $10K, but the Warm Audio version is about $1,000, where it's not the same. It's not the same quality, but it is good quality for the price range. You can be over picky, test them out and find what works with your voice best. But I feel like once you hit that certain price range, the average listener isn't going to be able to distinguish too much. They're going to realize that it's a professional sound. When you're recording in your home studio setup, the most important part is to make sure your level is right. You need to know how to get the levels of your voice in the DAW at a good level. It doesn't matter what gear you're using. If you're using $100,000 worth of gear, but the level going in is wrong, you're going to sound bad. What I mean by that, when you're talking into the microphone, you make sure that your input and output signal on the interface are set where it's not going red and it's not too low of a signal, and it's hitting Pro Tools at a good level too. If you have it all the way boosted here, you could be distorting your signal where it's irreversible on there. Even if you record it and send it to the best engineer, they're not going to be able to do much if it's already peaking and distorting. The same with if you're barely picking up a signal, they're going to have more trouble. You want to make sure that you're getting a good signal, and it's not one signal fits all. It depends on your voice and how loud you're being. If you're being really loud, you're going to have to turn the input signal down. If you're being quiet, you'll turn it up. But as a professional audio engineer, this is the most important part. You can make low budget gear sound good with a good level, whereas you can make great quality gear sound terrible if your level is way off. All right, so let's quick recap. We have the interface. You can find one that's affordable. If you're just recording vocals, you only need the one input. You don't need one that has more than 4 inputs. A quality microphone. I said I recommend at least the $500 price range, if not the $1,000 price range. And once you hit that price range, a lot of the quality is going to be consistent compared to the microphones that are like $90. Some speakers and a subwoofer so you can hear the bass. A lot of the times, the KRK speakers are classic at home studios. I recommend the Yamaha HS series. And then you need your DAW, your digital audio workstation. your software on the computer that you're going to work with. I recommend FL Studio. I recommend Pro Tools for sure as the industry standard. FL Studio may be the cheapest option, or you can find a free option like GarageBand or a similar free DAW if your main goal is just to get your vocals recorded and send them out, and you're not worrying about really mixing and mastering. You're having to be industry standard, and you got to make sure the levels are set. Like I said, that's the most important part. Honestly, that's all you need. I've seen home setups where people are really just going bare bones, just making it work. The benefit of a home studio for artists is one of the most important things. Being able to be in the lab all night and working on punching in and freestyling into it, where you're hearing it. You're not just writing it on a pad. You're hearing how it's going to be, and you're able to play with the melodies and sound and everything. That can really help an artist grow, and it helps you get your rough drafts down. Sometimes if you write it out, you'll forget what you said or how you said it, whereas here you're really hearing it and able to picture it. Sometimes you can record at your home setup and send it out to be professionally mixed, and then it's actually cutting your costs down of studio time too. There are a lot of benefits to having a home studio. I hope this helps you. I'm going to put some links down to this gear in the description. And if you have any questions, send me a DM on Instagram. Studio Drew 317. Yes, sir.